there's many attributes, let's face it, that Bitcoin provides heads and shoulders over and above any other hard asset out there, particularly with gold. He mentioned two aspects which I found it interesting: integrity and sovereignty. The integrity is more about, the fundamental attributes, but in particular with Bitcoin, it is a public ledger that any participants in the network can transfer value, economic value and energy, and even conserve that energy within the actual network itself. It's only going to be 21 million Bitcoins in circulation, and if you subscribe to my channel, there's a couple of interesting videos where I've actually pinpointed exactly where those attributes, that hard cap limit of 21 million, reside within the actual Bitcoin source code. So please subscribe and just look into those videos, which I think you'll find it very useful. So there is that integrity element, and also it's a truth network where it cannot be manipulated by any authority, whether it's a bank or an institution and so on. It's free from tampering and free from corruption. That's what I meant by a truth virus or a truth network. The sovereignty aspect, well, if you have these attributes that I mentioned earlier on for integrity, well, at a sovereign level, what would this actually mean for you and I as mere mortals who like to invest in such an asset in order to conserve our time and energy in a long time horizon? So for our future legacy needs, or even up to the point where we decide to retire and hang our boots and call it a day, well, we can tap in and enjoy one of those fruitful gains of our Bitcoin holding. So it certainly brings back the power from the collective back to the individual, because the individual, for the first time in history, is a golden opportunity to actually do something about it, to how we can fight off against inflation, how we can fend ourselves against currency debasement, the excessive money printing that is ongoing and will set to continue to go on in the years to come. That's what he meant by sovereignty. Because of this wonderfully beautiful digital property asset that we have for the first time in our history, there is a solution, like a magical wand, that can help us protect ourselves against this tyranny from the collective. The way he actually explained of the actual attributes makes total sense to me. Integrity and sovereignty. So that's one of the first areas I want to talk about. I also want to talk about how Bitcoin can be embedded within the overarching financial system. It's true to say that Bitcoin has always been sold as a decentralized network, so away from traditional finance. And it's true, and I do honestly think that that course is going to continue and is going to become even more paramount as we move into the months and years of the adoption cycle for Bitcoin. It'll become more obvious. And why? It's so because, like I said earlier on, we want to kind of combat the central authority, we want to combat against the central banking institutions where we currently have our assets in the form of bank accounts, check accounts, savings. Whilst all this entropy and chaos that's going on through currency debasement, money printing by the central authorities, well, as a result, our savings are going to be impacted, right? It's going to be worthless over time. So that's why he made a mention that there is this dichotomy between the traditional finance on one hand and Bitcoin on the other, that aims to separate the chaos and the corruption under a more truthful, decentralized, sovereign network where the individual can actually safeguard their long, hard-earned cash and savings in a decentralized financial network, which is Bitcoin, as a long-term store of value. And I am one of them as well. As a retail investor, I've certainly done that 3 years ago, and I've amassed some significant and interesting savings. But like I said, I'm not going to fall into the trap and start relinquishing and enjoying those profit taking for myself at the moment. No, it's a long-term thing. So that is that. The aspect of Bitcoin as a digital property, which really is like comparing real estate in cyberspace, which is a form of untouchable digital property beyond the clutches and reach of government control, taxation, entropy, and so on. It's a world asset. Any participant in the world, whether you're living in a developed world or an emerging market, this equally applies to everyone. This is yet another attribute in favor for Bitcoin. Now, I want to round off today's summary on an interesting point that he mentioned, where he classed Bitcoin as that economic armor. And why he made a mention of that is pretty much what I've said earlier on. Bitcoin as that ultimate tool for financial independence, that sovereign independence, away from traditional finance, away from the central authorities, the collective, or the central planners, right? Protecting individuals such as you and I, and businesses from wealth confiscation and inflation. This is really what is ultimately what Bitcoin pretends to solve and protect us against. So this is where I want to leave that final message to you. If you found it interesting in today's episode, please hit the like button, to share the video to your friends and colleagues at work. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to this channel, because as I mentioned earlier on, I publish many videos such as these, anything to do with Bitcoin, blockchain technology, and the future of finance. So until next time.